What is happening, my fellow lovers of shiny metals, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. This right here is the Double Florin, and despite it being a definite favourite amongst collectors today, that was not always the case. In fact, when it was first produced, it was deeply unpopular, so much so that it coined itself the nickname Barmaid's Ruin. But what could such a beautiful and elegant coin do to earn itself such a horrible nickname? Well, stick around and we'll find out. Yes, hello everybody. Right here I have an 1887 Double Florin. It weighs 22.62 grams, has a composition of 925 sterling silver and a diameter of 36 millimeters. Now remember that, guys, because that's going to come into play a little bit later on. But if we start off by taking a look at the reverse right here, as designed by artist Leonard Charles Wynne, we can see that it shows the four-crowned cruciform shield of England, Ireland and Scotland, with the three lines of England being top and bottom centre, the harp of Ireland being on the left and the line rampant of Scotland being on the right. In the middle we can see a starred garter with the St George cross right in the middle circle right there, and coming out of that we have the four angled sceptres with the harp of Ireland on one, the thistle of Scotland on another, and the crowned orb of England on the other two right there. Around that we have a legend that reads 1887 Fid Def Brit Reg, which of course is abbreviated Latin and would translate to 1887 Defender of the Faith, Queen of Britain. Around that we have a lot of little teeth which would act alongside the reeded edge as a counter clipping measure, stopping people from being able to clip just a little bit of silver from the edge of each coin, thus amounting a larger pile over time, which at the time was a genuine issue. Coin clipping was a very, very common occurrence, and obviously if you're paying with something with a coin that is based on the intrinsic value of the metal it's made from, obviously if people are clipping a little bit of silver, that's not great practice, is it? So they came up with clever ideas such as the teeth and the milled edges, which will make it very apparent if someone had removed a little bit of metal right there, because you would see the ridged edge missing on a section of a coin. But if we flip it over right here, we can see that we have the Jubilee depiction of Queen Elizabeth, which was designed by artist Joseph Edgar Bowen. This is quite an important effigy actually, because it was the first effigy of Queen Victoria to replace the bun-headed effigy, which ran for almost 50 years since she ascended to the throne in 1837. Around here we can see we have a legend that reads Victoria de Gra, which would translate to Victoria by grace of God. They really are beautiful coins. They were issued for 4 years, but there are 5 different variants of this coin, because in 1887 there were 2 different variants produced, the most common of which is this one right here, which is known as the Arabic one. And the reason for that is it has a numerical number 1 on the coin right there, as opposed to this one right here, which is known as the Roman I, and that is simply because instead of a numerical 1 right here, we have a Roman numeral for the number 1. Now in 1887 there was a total of 483,300 double florins minted. Unfortunately, we no longer know how many of that number was minted as the Arabic one or the Roman I. All that is known is that there are less of the Roman I's available, making it the scarcer and more desirable coin amongst collectors. But these 2 variants combined had a mintage of 483,000. Following that, we have the 1888 coin, which is pretty much identical to the 1887. The remainder of the coins were all issued with an Arabic one rather than a Roman numeral. And this coin right here, the 1888, was minted to numbers of 243,300, making it by far the scarcest year of the 4 coins. And then next up we have the 1889, which once again is pretty much identical to the last one, except for the fact it has the date of 1889 rather than 1888. This is by far the highest mintage year, and it has a mintage of over 1 million, being 1,185,100. And then last but by no means least, we have the 1890 Double Florin, which was the final year of issue. It was minted to numbers of 782,100 and likewise is pretty much identical to the other coins with the Leonard Charles Wyon reverse and the Joseph Edgar Boehm obverse right there. But what made this coin so unpopular? And what exactly was it that gave it the unfortunate nickname of Barmaid's Ruin? Well, to cover that, we're going to have to cast your minds back to the late 19th century. The year is 1887. And you, my friend, are a young barmaid frantically trying to run the bar on a Friday night. Everybody's out, everybody's celebrating. We've all seen the pub on a Friday. It gets absolutely hectic. All of a sudden, one of your patrons hand you a coin just like this. It's a coin you've never seen before. You think, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Oh, wow. I've never seen Queen Victoria look like that before. Okay, well, that's your crown and here's your change. Unfortunately, you've just fallen for the trap because the Barmaid's Ruin, if I take a crown right here, which has a diameter of 38.61 millimeters, and as we said before, the Barmaid's Ruin has a diameter of 36 millimeters, meaning there's a difference between the two coins of only 2.61 millimeters, which is very, very small. As you can see, if I place the coins next to each other, you can see that they are pretty much almost the same size. Now, that was an issue because, as I say, when these coins were new and they were being handed to busy barmaids, they were taking the coin, they felt it in the hand, then they automatically assumed, okay, that's a crown and I'll give you the change for a crown. Now, the problem with that is this being a double florin consists of 4 shillings, whereas the British crown, of course, was a 5 shilling coin. So every time somebody spent one of these and it was taken as a crown by mistake, they would have received an extra shilling in their change. Now, of course, back then, what would have happened at the end of the day? The landlord of the pub, bar, tavern, inn, whatever you were working, would have tallied the tills, and all of a sudden there's a bit of a discrepancy. Now, depending on how many double florins you took on the evening, there could be quite a large discrepancy. If you took 10 double florins, you would have been 10 shillings down, and that money had to come from somewhere, and the place it came from was your pocket. You had to repay the deficit in the till, which of course a lot of barmaids back then wasn't able to do. You know, a lot of them would have been trying hard to make ends meet, and the sudden extra debt of having to tally up their tills at the end of the night is exactly what ruined a lot of barmaids. And not only barmaids too, of course, other professions would have fell victim to the double florin as well. It was just more prominent between barmaids, as I say, because of the busy, noisy environment they were working in. It was maybe a little bit easier for it to slip under the radar. But as I say, that is how it got its name, the Barmaid's Ruin, and it's also why it was so unpopular at the time it was created. But regardless of that, nowadays it is a coin that many collectors, just like myself, have a little bit of a soft spot for. And not only that, it's a very easy run to complete because it was only minted over 4 years, and because there's only 5 different variants, it means it is quite an easy set to complete. As you've seen already, I've got a full set of all 5s, all in good condition, and I'm very happy with all of them. However, you know, that's all right saying they look great, but are they what they're supposed to be? And the best way we can tell that, guys, of course, you see it hiding away in the corner back there, is by getting our good friend, the 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗵𝗿. So I'm just going to start this up recording on my computer so I can put it on screen to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see the display. And without any further delay, we will start off with the 1887 Roman I. And right there, we can see we're happily in the green, which is great to see. Next up, we have the 1887 Arabic 1 right here. We'll pop that under and we will see, oh, that's very nicely in the green. Once again, that is what we like to see. Next up, we have the 1888, which again is the scarcest year of all 4 coins. So if we pop that on there, we will see fantastic, once again, right in the middle of the green. Next up, we have the 1889. And hopefully, all being well, we will see once again it is what it's supposed to be. And right there, we absolutely can. Fantastic work. Right bang, smack in the centre of the green. Finally, we have the 1890 right here. If my camera wants to focus, there you go. We'll pop that down. We'll pop the bullion wand on there. The bullion wand is my favourite way to test for silver because it just makes it a lot easier. I can have the machine back there on my display, and then I'm free to use the wand to test whatever I want. And of course, linking it with the PC means I get the additional usability of being able to control it all by my mouse and keyboard, which is an absolutely fantastic feature of the 𝗬𝗂𝗔. It really is. So that's all of the double florins passed the test, but that's not all the coins we saw today, is it? Because the 1887 Victorian crown right here did make a quick cameo, didn't it, when we juxtaposed it against the 1887 double florin. So don't think you're getting away with it, my friend. Let's get you under this wand and found out that yes, absolutely, you are 100% what you are supposed to be. So that is fantastic work. I'm very happy I've got the 𝗬𝗂𝗧 to be able to double check these things because, you know, when it comes to coins like the double florin, especially the Roman numeral, which is this one right here, there definitely are some fakes out there, and it is always better to be safe than sorry when you look to buy old coins like this. Now, another thing I want to show you when it comes to the 𝗬𝗂𝗧 is you may from time to time come across something like this, and if I put this under the one, we can see that it's actually sitting just in the red, not the green. Now, the reason for that is you've got to remember this coin is 150 years old, guys. That's a century and a half. And back then, the minting process just wasn't as refined as it is now. And what you can find is that percentage of 92.5 might be a little bit off. So I can pretty much guarantee if I do this and I swap the metals from 925 sterling silver over to pre-1900 90% silver, there you go, guys. It puts it straight into the green. And what that tells me is it absolutely is a case of the composition just being a little bit off, and the silver content being somewhere between 90 and 92.5. So it's a little bit below 92.5, but definitely above 90% silver, which tells me it is a genuine piece. There are, of course, other tests you can do should you wish to do so, but when it comes to dealing with the older coins, and they're of course coins I come across with all the time, it is not uncommon for you just to have to slip out of a 925 and just go over into the 90% setting, as you can see right there. So if you have got a little gem in your collection and the reading comes off a little bit not what you'd want to see, don't worry too much. Do drop it down to 90% and double check, and that might just resolve that issue for you. So just a little pro tip when it comes to using the 𝗬𝗂𝗧 right there. But with that being the case, otherwise, I've probably rabbled on for long enough now. So I'm going to leave you all in the usual fashion by saying until next time, as usual, look after each other, keep stacking, take care, and goodbye.